schools. We are meeting virtually because with COVID, it's just in our best interest and the best interest of those that attend that we take every precaution. So we'll be meeting. Hope if anyone has joined us, you can listen and kind of follow along with us. The first order of business, of course, is roll call, and that happens to be my job. So let me call roll. Ms. Parker? Ms. Kinzer's here. Ms. Hopkins, I see. Mr. Fulbright is not with us tonight. He's with his parents and won't be with us this week. Mr. Moore?
Present.
Ms. Urban?
Present.
Mr. Sims? All right. Mr. Hooper?
I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Howell?
Present.
Mr. Lindsay?
Here.
And Mr. Dudley. I have everybody on board. Has Ms. Parker checked in yet? I'm sure she'll be here. No? Okay. Then moving on, it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we have done this before just by doing it together, right?
Well, no, I have a video for you.
Okay, well, that'd be great.
All right.
Now the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, that's great.
Jack, there was no sound on that.
I know there was no sound, but they were so precious. We could tell what they were really did a great job. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And what school is that? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Baker Elementary School.
Okay. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Next, we generally, after the Pledge of Allegiance, have a moment of silence. I would just ask board members to just hope that Michael and his family, that this will be a week of healing for them. So hopefully he'll be back soon. Next is adopt the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda or any? Is there a motion? I'm not sure who that was. Was it Mr. Lindsay? Is there a second?
Seconded.
Mr. Moore seconded the motion. Any discussion? Then we're ready to vote.
Could we do this first one as a voice? I'm just now connecting in. I've got a new computer.
Absolutely. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Is there any recognition and announcements, Mr. Hickman?
Yes, Mr. Gaines, did you want to share that?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, good evening. I'm here tonight to recognize the Tennessee Certified Pathways for our schools, and we're excited about it. The Tennessee Pathways represents a unique partnership between the Tennessee Department of Education and the Tennessee Board of Regents, which is anchored in our shared commitment to student success. Our agencies and our teams are committed to building high-quality education to career pathways for every student in our state. Launched in 2019, the Tennessee Pathways Certification sets clear expectations for alignment, advisement, and partnerships that define strong education to career pathways. Beyond establishing standards for program qualities and design, the certification elevates and celebrates innovative and exemplary pathways in the state. We're pleased to recognize we had 19 programs that applied for certified pathways, and all 19 achieved certification. So I'm just going to read them really quickly, and congratulations to those schools. First from Central High School, Mr. Garland Brown, Criminal Justice and Correctional Services. Ms. Jessica Brown, Veterinary and Animal Science. Mr. Jonathan Michael, Mechatronics. Mr. Josh Norman, Horticultural Science. From Culleoka, Ms. Leslie Cole, Nursing Education. Mr. Biz Springer, Advanced STEM Applications. Mr. Butch Sutton, Criminal Justice and Correctional Services. From Hampshire Unit School, Mr. John Paul Jones, Horticultural Science. Mr. Stephen Kelly, Machining Technology. From Mount Pleasant High School, Mr. Scott Anders, Residential Commercial Construction. Mr. Tony Grooms, Horticultural Science. Mr. Seth Woodard, Advanced STEM Applications. At Santa Fe Unit School, Mr. Jason Burkhalter, Criminal Justice and Correctional Services. Mr. Blaine Keysayer, Veterinary and Animal Science. Ms. Jan Thomason, Office Management. At Spring Hill High School, Ms. Liz Brown, Veterinary and Animal Science. Mr. Brent Cook, Networking Systems. Ms. Jen Huffman, Nursing Education. Mr. Dale Long, Advanced STEM Applications. Mr. Jeremy Paisley, Criminal Justice and Correctional Services. Mr. Richard Schmuck, Megatronics. Of the pathways, 4 programs of study earn the certification, 9 earn advanced programs, pathways, and 9 earn excelling pathways. We congratulate the schools, the teachers, and Dr. Brown and Ms. Terry Thornton on this accomplishment.
Okay, well, thank you. We absolutely congratulate them. That's very impressive, and thank you so much for bringing that. Okay, next on the agenda is the Murray County Education Association, Ms. Inc.
Hey, everybody. I would always, every time I thank you always for allowing MCA to speak. I will be brief tonight because I'm really not feeling my best. I met virtually with the association representatives from several schools, and the first thing I noticed was the exhaustion on the faces of teachers who are doing more than we've ever had to do. So today, I'm going to address some of the issues that we addressed at that meeting. So one of the things are the extended hours that teachers are doing and the differentiation between those extended hours. Some are doing 15 extra hours a year, and some teachers are doing 50 to 60 extra hours a year. So there's not an equity in the amount of extra work teachers are doing at this time. And a lot of it has to do with COVID. That's not a typical issue. Also, sorry, I just got a text message, and that's why I don't like doing this on my phone. But we know this is a different year, but somebody doing 15 extra hours and somebody doing basically a week and a half extra is a huge discrepancy. Other issues were things that were related to the vaccine and hoping to get the vaccine, but also the fact that the vaccine doesn't necessarily mean you can't pass it to somebody. So the issue with the masks are still an issue, and we are, myself and others are encouraging people to continue with the masks as directed by Director Hickman, because if I'm working with somebody closely and you're working with somebody closely, I'm wearing a mask to protect them from me, and you may not be wearing a mask. So let's just keep encouraging that. Also, I also want to reiterate the fact that we are going on year 4 without a significant raise. And I know you're getting ready to discuss raises or you're maybe not discussing raises, but the budget. So can we please address that as an issue? That has been an issue for years now. And we have people who are significantly falling behind on their any kind of standard of raise. So I'm sorry. I will say this. I said this at the AR meeting. With everything going on and the amount of work we're doing, my head is exceptionally foggy. Like it's constant. So what I really want to focus on is the amount of work people are doing and the fact that everybody deserves a raise. At some point, we have to do that. And also the issue with vaccines. Vaccines doesn't mean that you can't still pass it. So let's make sure that vaccines, if you get a vaccine, we still have some sort of protection for employees. And I apologize for my lack of fluidness in this conversation today. It's just been a hard day. So normally I'm a little more understandable. It's just been a really hard time this past week for me. So thank you for always letting us speak.
Well, it further punctuates what you've said, the fact that it has been a hard week and it's hard on teachers and many are working beyond their hours. And we appreciate your bringing that to us. And I think we're well aware of the hard work that they're doing. Hopefully the board can put teachers realize what that and compensate them equitably. Yeah, I didn't say that very well, but we'll move on. Thank you, Ms. Eng. What do we do about public delegations?
Last time, what Chair Fulbright did was asked if anybody had any comments, and then before they spoke, they would have to tell their address and all that, but nobody spoke.
All right. Wish they'd have to raise their hand and do it. It'd have to be something on the agenda. So is there anyone who would like to speak to some item that is on the agenda? If you are on now and you wish to, then you can punch the little hand button that's in front of you and we will hear from you. Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on. Staff reporting, we've done that, correct? Consent item.
One thing on the staff, I did want to introduce Jennifer Gerard.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Miss Gerard comes to us. She is now our Chief Human Resource person, and we're very fortunate to get someone of her caliber. She had to go through the ringer. We did a very intensive hiring process, so if Miss Gerard would introduce herself. I know she's on here somewhere.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
She's up there in the corner. See her. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So now we're ready for consent items. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Moore made the motion. Mr. Howell second the motion. Is there any discussion? Then we're ready to vote. Charlie, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. I missed the roll call. Is everybody here but Mr. Dudley?
I don't know Miss Parker's here. I don't see her, and she wasn't here at roll call.
She came
I
in.
am here now.
Okay,
Oh,
good. Then
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Mr. Fulbright.
And Mr. Fulbright's not here.
Okay. I need to know that so that I can have the correct voting.
Right.
Okay, just a second. Okay, please vote now. I have everybody but Miss Parker.
I vote yes.
Vote is yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, then that motion does pass, and so we'll move on to new business, and it's listed as finance, and I think that we actually have a PowerPoint, and I'm sure that all of this is encompassing all of those, the 8.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. So this discussion will be kind of encompass all of that, correct? So who's gonna make that presentation? Mr. Gaines?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening again. I think in the presentation that we sent to you on Friday, we tried to address the questions regarding inventory, and we added some additional information where we surveyed K through teachers regarding device acceptance and how they use devices post-COVID. If you have any questions about that information, that survey is still open. It's up to about 109 teachers as of today. And at that point, the data is still trending the same. So I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Any discussion?
Yes.
I'm looking, oh, I see your hand up. Sorry, I just got to get used to this. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I just had a question on this. I know some of this we discussed at the work session about this funding, and if this is funding that would be coming from the 2.0 stimulus money, is that correct?
So a portion of it, yes, for the iPads for students in grades K and 1. The first purchase for the Chromebooks, if you remember, we were able to apply for additional funding from the state in another grant opportunity. And so that funding we already have, we've already received those funds. And so we're asking to purchase the Chromebooks with that funding.
Okay. I personally, I would rather us, I don't mind doing, if we've got grant money coming, but I would like to wait until after we have some discussions of a treat for any money that's going to come from the 2.0 stimulus money. So can you identify exactly which purchases would be grant money only and nothing to do with the stimulus 2.0 money?
So the 8.1, the purchase of Chromebooks and cases will come from the additional grant money that we had. And then the 8.12, the purchase of Chromebook cases, that actually comes from ESSER 1, where we purchase Chromebooks, and we're purchasing those additional cases for those Chromebooks. Those will be for our 4th grade students.
How am I supposed to get in this fucking parking space right now? I don't think I can. Like, that's just too, I think I can.
Jennifer.
I can do this.
Mute Jennifer. Okay, go ahead.
So I get, okay. So iPads are all the second two, 8.1.1 and 8.1.2, or what you're telling me would be either the ESSER money 1 or the grant, and then numbers 3 and 4 would be from the 2.0 money, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Let me think about that for just a minute. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Lindsay.
This might not be appropriate. I don't know which. My question is actually for 8.1.3 and 8.1.4, and sounds like maybe we're going to tackle those differently than 1 and 2. So I don't want to ask the question at an inappropriate time. But.
I don't think it's an inappropriate time because we're all, unless we decide we don't want, that we want to move this to the retreat, the 8.3 and 8.13 and 1.4. I would like to know the ordering of these things that, you know, if we want to discuss it then, which of course would be great, but that would mean we couldn't vote on it until March, and then that would be even longer before you could get them ordered. So I know that's always been something we have battled. So
Why don't I help clear it up? I'll make a motion to approve 8.11 and 8.12.
all right, is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Howell, is there any discussion? Seeing no,
I've got my hand.
Ms.
I think I have
Parker,
my hand up. Sorry.
You do. Go ahead.
Mr. Gaines, can you speak to, for the overall plan, how much money are we spending on devices from grant money?
So,
Sorry, from ESSER money.
so in the original ESSER fund, you know that we spent almost 1.5 million on the devices through 4, where we covered grades 6 through 8, and then because we bought those devices, we were able to apply for that additional funding, and we still have some ESSER funding left. So that's what, when you see the 8.1, 8.2, those prices will add to that. And let me look real quick to tell you those amounts. I think the Chris Seal may be on, and he may be faster at giving you those exact amounts. I'm gonna.
So I am here actually. So the grant money that we got back from the technology reimbursement grant, it was $440,000 that we that kindergarten through first grade device or second grade. So this purchase of Chromebooks is, but actually the plan for them would be to go to second grade. And that's 811 and 813 and 814 is a total of about $810,000 that we were out of
Chris, you are breaking.
We're ahead of payment order.
Chris, we couldn't hear you. We're breaking up bad.
Well, can I ask to clarify on one thing? So the motion is to approve 8.11 and 8.12. And 8.12 is to buy cases for 8.11. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay. But when I look at 8.12, it says that the funding source for that is going to be ESSER grant funds 2021. Is that not ESSER 2.0, or is that ESSER 1.0?
That's money, that's funds that we still have left over in ESSER 1.0 that was allocated for technology purchases that we had essentially, that we, based off the Chromebooks that we purchased to get 5 through 12 1-to-1 and the devices there,
Okay.
there is some money left over, and that's where those come from.
Okay. And so just looking at, let's just talk about ESSER 1.0 first. The total amount that we spent, the total allocation for our district for ESSER 1.0 was what?
Scott, you're muted.
Approximately 1.9 million.
And we spent 1.5 of that on devices before this purchase. Is that correct?
Well, I think it was right around 1.1. I was almost 1.2, if I remember correctly.
So keep in mind that the device purchase, the second one, the additional Chromebooks, comes as a result of another remote technology grant that we were able to get.
Okay, so it's not going towards ESSER 1.0 essentially.
That's correct.
Okay. But I will just say one of the issues that I have is just how much we're spending on devices. What is instructions plan going forward on how to use devices in the classroom, at home, whatnot? If we're presented with coronavirus 2.0, how are we going to address that with these purchases?
So if we continue to have to pivot schools, as you know, devices certainly offer assistance to us in being able to access content. Given we know that we have children with internet access issues and things like that, we're working that angle also. We have in ESSER 1.0, we've purchased hotspots. We have another grant opportunity from T-Mobile that we're working on to get additional hotspots. We know that there are some students who hotspots won't work at all, but having devices will allow us to be able to, we can download content to laptops and being able to give students still that access to that content, especially with our reading and math series. It's not it's never our intent for students to be able to just sit at home and work on a laptop. We want to be able to engage them, and we know certainly with technology we'll be able to engage them better. All a part of that, as you remember, when we first started training for the pandemic, we started training teachers with using software or learning platforms that would allow us to conduct virtual classes. Having devices in all students' hands will allow us to continue to do that and connect with them virtually.
And I'm glad you mentioned that with the virtual classrooms. So will the purchase of these Chromebooks allow us to do synchronous learning for all students 2nd through 12th?
Yes, we would be able to, teachers would be able to connect with students at on those devices. Once we had them in place, we'd be able to do synchronous learning with teachers will be able to conduct classes. We know that in K through 2, we have to have parent assistance and we have to do some things, but we've learned some things. One of the things that we're going to bring to you this weekend when we talk about ESSER 2.0 is some additional software that will allow teachers to be able to be in control of the devices that students have, so they can help students in terms of connecting to different things or presenting different things to students where they don't have to do it. Also, we, along with this, as we purchase devices, we just, the intent is not to just hand students devices and say, go forth and do good things. The idea is that students will use those devices in the classroom and learn how to use devices appropriately. The idea is that students will use devices as a tool to help them learn, not just something to play games on or just do something like that. That it would, students would learn how to be able to participate in the virtual classroom, what that looks like, so that in the event that, if we did pivot and subsequently after that, those would become devices for students that they could use to help them learn.
Well, does instruction have any expectations, guidelines, anything in place so that these devices do not become, so we're not spending $1.5 million on games?
No, that's never been the intent to.
Well, I know it's not been the intent, but I mean,
Yeah.
I've also been in classes where I've seen kids on games, and that happens,
Right.
and I understand that, and that was not under this administration. I'm talking about previous administration, but
Right.
Devices are great, but I just don't know that. Personally, I feel like this money is designed to address the fact that our children were not in school for a large time period, and I'm curious to know how you feel like devices solve that problem of the learning loss that they had during that extended period.
But certainly devices will allow us to, as students can work collaboratively with devices. So even in the classroom, It will allow students to work collaboratively with each other. It'll allow students to not work on games, but work on things like, we have iReady Math. There are lessons and practices they can work on in small groups while teachers are working with another group. So it gives us that ability to be able to facilitate those small group instruction better. While we're working with a small group in person, we're able to have students working on devices. It'll give students the opportunity to, as they continue to work in iReady or those different software packages like that, where they begin to set their own goals in there and knowing where they are, and it will help them to be able to, look at opportunities when they know they need to practice. They'll have devices where they can practice with those different skills or different concepts, and at the same time, not just leaving them on their own, but the teacher also being able to intervene. So it kind of creates an extra partner in the classroom.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Lindsay, you had your hand up a while ago. Do you wish to speak?
Just one question. I guess it's for Mr. Seal. This in 8.11, it's 940 Chromebooks. What grade level is planned for these to be assigned to?
The vision for those, can you hear me? I'm not sure, but the vision for those would actually be second grade devices because they are touchscreen. Touchscreen with the smaller hands, we feel like made more sense, and so that's why we're going with second grade with the touchscreens.
And from reading one of the attachments, it's the plan for K through 2 for those devices to stay in the classroom and not go home.
That's actually the vision overall for every elementary school, pre and post a non-COVID world, but obviously, COVID could make some changes to that. But yes, the vision is for them to stay in the classroom.
But I'll now just make one statement. I'm okay with buying devices if they stay in the classroom. I question what benefit they are being sent home. As long as those devices stay in the classroom, then I can probably vote. If we're going to send these devices home, I just think we're asking for a bigger problem. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Well, I was just going to say the only thing that might help in a sense to send them home is if we do have a student in a case that has no ability to get a packet or anything like that. We do have the ability to download those packets or those videos to those devices for those students if we had to pivot. But obviously, we're only talking about COVID world there, and this the whole vision of all this is post-COVID world.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my only question, would there be any, other than just a delay in when we get these, if this was put off to next month, does it stop anything, or does the grant money run out, or could this be put off a month?
Other than, the delaying and the delaying a month and, well, especially the other device, the devices in ESSER 2.0 will, we won't make the purchase until you guys approve it, of course. So that would run a delay in receiving those devices.
All right, thank you.
I don't believe the grant money from the reimbursement grant would run out in the next month. No.
Okay, Mr. Howe.
So I was part of the technology team, and this actually would be great because this would just about get us one-to-one, which for once would be really ahead of our goal. Our goal was to be one-to-one by 2025. And by purchasing these, I think that would meet our goal. I mean, I'm not sure why we're setting goals and then now we're kind of backtracking and saying, well, I don't know if we need this technology right now. Well, if we needed it when we made the plan, why do we not need it now? I mean, I think this is something we need to jump on. This would greatly accelerate our goals of getting technology into the hands of our students. So the big thing before was we just didn't have the money. And now we have the money to meet our goal. I'm not sure why we wouldn't do that. Now, I understand there are other issues, there's learning loss, there's things like that, but that's another problem that we can tackle with the money that's left over. I mean, if we're looking at, I think it was $2 million in ESSER 2.0, and if we just spend a small portion of that, well, maybe not small, but if we spend 700,000, 800,000 of that, then that still leaves, I don't know, 1.2 million or so to spend on learning loss and other things. So I don't have an issue with any of it, the Chromebooks or the iPads. We may want to go ahead and pass both of these, and the reason being, and we can just put it contingency upon funding, but go ahead and get in line so that we can get these devices sooner if we decide to go that way. If we decide not to fund the iPads, then we don't fund it, and therefore we don't make the purchase. We cancel the purchase. That's just my thought. We need to get these devices as soon as we can. Do I think we can get these devices? We're in February now. Do I think we can get these devices in our hands of our students by the end of this year? Probably, realistically, in my opinion, probably not. But I would like to go ahead and get them because the capacity to make these devices is only so much. And we're not the only school district that's going to be using ESSER funds to purchase these devices. So the sooner that we can get in line, the better off we'll be starting the fall when we have devices to hand to every one of our students, and therefore accomplish one of our goals that we've been trying to accomplish since way before I was on the board. So I think we should definitely get on board with this and purchase these devices.
Okay, thank you. Miss Irwin has hers, and I see you have your, Scott, do you want to comment now or let her speak?
I just wanted to clarify the device purchase, for the two that are in ESSER 2.0 would come out of the $8 million that we already have been notified that we are going to receive. So the last come out of that. The other is funds the first two are funds we already have. We've already received those.
Yeah, okay. I misspoke. I meant the $8 million for that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Ms. Irvin?
Thank you, Ms.
Irvin?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hey, I just wanted to go on record and say that I understand the concerns that some people have, especially the younger the children go, we worry about those devices being taken care of. But I mean, I've been out of the classroom for 7 or 8 years, other than just helping with a brief interim at the schools last year. But let me tell you, from my experience in teaching the younger guys, children just learn different than maybe what we did when we were in school. And let me tell you, I cannot overstate, in my opinion, the value of this technology, even outside the classroom. And I know games were mentioned, and I know sometimes when people come in and they see games, I mean, if someone's sitting there playing solitaire, then yes, obviously that's not effective, but there's a wealth of educational games that may look like they're fun or what may, but they stimulate a lot of learning. And if, whatever we decide about sending these home or not, but I know parents, sometimes parents put kids on educational games just to enforce and enrich. And the way those games are packaged, a lot of times they're a fun way. It's almost like a recess. I would have kids not mind not going outside to recess on cold days if they could play educational games on their device that was teaching things even upwards of multiplication and division when I was a 3rd grade teacher. So I cannot stress enough the value. Plus, I know there's quick assessments you can do to make your classroom move more efficiently, a way to gauge and see. So I'm just giving, and I'm feel like I'm out of practice, so I'm not the best one to speak, but I feel like if you talk to any of your educators of even younger grades, they would tell you how much these devices would benefit their classroom, even outside of this gap of COVID. So I just wanted to go on record of, making that position known. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gaines, you have something else to say? I see your hand is up.
Oh, sorry, it is up, and I will speak, as we said before, this, our technology integration plan, didn't just involve buying devices. It involved, teaching children how to, helping teachers learn how to integrate technology appropriately, and then transitioning that to students so that they learn how to use technology appropriately. So the device it becomes a tool for them to use. And we know that students are going, it's a part of their world, and we have to teach them to use them appropriately. So our diploma plan or technology integration plan was formed with that thought that we would endeavor to teach children to use technology appropriately, help teachers to learn how to integrate technology appropriately, so that it could enhance learning.
I just want to say that I agree with Mr. Howell. I attended a lot of those meetings, as did Mr. Moore, and there was a time we were thinking, how are we going to squeeze the funds just to get it into the high schools and middle schools? So it seems to me like this is a great opportunity to do what we initially felt was very important, to bring our kids up, to give them that opportunity and to update us into the to technology. So I look at this as an opportunity. So Mr. Lindsay, I see you're, and Ms. Irvin, is yours on again, or I'm just asking? I'm gonna let Mr. Lindsay speak.
Another question for Mr. Seal. What is the turnaround time? Speaking of just the Chromebooks here, what is the turnaround time that you guys are anticipating right now?
With the Chromebooks being touch, we actually are currently on about a 3-week window for those. So touch obviously helps with those, but that was the funding that was the grant money. Now, I know you didn't ask about the iPads, but just to throw it out there.
Well, let's just before we go there, a 3-week window. I mean, are you saying that you'll have them in your hands in 3 weeks?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Okay, Mr. Lindsay, anything else? I don't
Not
see
right
that.
now.
Ms. Parker has texted me and that she's not able to, her computer put her off, even though she's able to vote. So hopefully her questions are answered. The motion is on 8.1.1 and 8.1.2. With no other discussion, we're ready to vote.
Please vote now.
Shirley, you'll have to read the vote. I can't see it.
Okay, I don't have Mr. Hooper's or Miss Hopkins or Miss Parker's.
Hey, just for clarification, are you voting on 8.11 and 8.12?
Yes, that was the motion. Yes.
Okay, I can see Mr. Hooper's now. Still waiting on Miss Hopkins and Miss Parker.
Miss Parker just got back in.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Miss Parker just got back in.
Okay. I got it. I need Miss Hopkins and then we're through.
She's got thumbs up.
Okay. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are yay, 2 nay.
Okay, well then that motion does pass. Okay, the next items that are up for discussion is 8.1.3 and 8.1.4. Mr. Moore talked about discussing them, moving them to the work session. Is there any discussion? Mr. Lindsay, your light is on.
Same question for Mr. Seal. What would be the turnaround time on these iPads?
When we received this quote, the Tuesday of the actual work session, it was 45 days. That was obviously before everyone else, that we tried to jump the gun there to get ahead of the game. But and she said that as of now, she still believes it would be 45 days out to receive them, just depending on next orders from everyone else.
Ms. Parker.
What about with regards to the cases? What's the turnaround time on those?
Those the cases actually for these we would actually probably get those before the iPads, but built into this this quote, they gave us some hefty discounts due to some previous things with some applications and stuff that we lost when we changed over to an MDM. Bunch of jargon, I apologize, but we would the cases would ship to Apple and they would asset tag and roll and actually case them for us, and they would be delivered straight to the schools, and that's all included in that 45-day turnaround time.
Well, I just want to speak from personal experience, and you know, having had a student that was quarantined last week, 4th grade does not have their devices. 4th grade did not get their devices sent home with them because there were not cases. And I know that they've gotten them now, but I imagine that we purchased those back in the first round of money. And so I'm real leery of these time frames. So if we're trying to get them in before the end of school, I just doubt that that's going to happen. If we just want them, then we just want them. And I still question, and I missed part of the discussion. I'm sorry, my computer rebooted on me, but I still just question. I feel like we're getting this money, but we're getting this money again to address student learning that they haven't been receiving. And one of the concerns I had about this particular money is I wanted to know how we were planning on spending $8 million. And I just don't see an overall plan. Now, I know it's on our retreat to talk about that, and I would feel more comfortable with us voting on this if we had an idea of how we were planning on spending $8 million as opposed to just a piece of the puzzle.
Mr. Howe.
I would like to make a motion to approve 8.1.3 and 8.1.4 contingent upon funding. We may decide that this is what we want to do. We may not. Either way, we go ahead and get ourselves in the queue. And then if we, after Saturday, if we decide this isn't the route we want to go, then at our next meeting, we simply vote to pull that out. But I'd say go ahead and get us into the queue. Otherwise, we're 30 days down the road, which means we're not 45 days out. We're now 30 days plus 45 days out. That's just my thought. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I second it.
Okay, that Ms. Urban. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
I'm not sure what Mr. Howell means by contingent on funding. I mean, if we approve this, we approve it. I mean, that's what we're doing at this point. I will have to go with what Kristen had said. I have no intention of approving anything to do with this ESSER 2.0 money until we as a board discuss how we want to allocate it on the whole. And I would like to see, as she's saying, a big picture, breakdown of what we're trying to do with this money rather than just trying to grab it pieces here and there. I want to see a big picture, and I see no reason why, as a board, if we have a retreat, we're able to discuss this there, that we can't call a special call meeting and address this and any other issues that we want to do. I just don't see why we can't put that off a week.
Okay. Mr. Lindsay?
Motion to table the motion that's on the floor.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second? I see Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? That means it'll lay on the floor. We can pick it up at any time. So seeing no other, Mr. Lindsay, do you have some comments to make?
I'm sorry, I just didn't take my hand down.
All right. All right. So you're voting for for tabling this, not doing away with it, but just simply tabling it, laying it on the table till we're ready to pick it up. So we're ready to vote.
Please vote now.
I don't see where the vote is.
Okay, it kicked out the, we're going with Mr. Lindsay to make that motion, right?
Mr. Lindsay made the motion. Mr. Moore seconded the motion. And it's to table the motion made by Mr. Howell. And
Right.
Right.
Okay. It should be now.
Okay, I see it.
Please,
Thank you.
please vote now.
Can we clarify the wording of this? I'm not comfortable with how this is written.
We've just voted. So what do we do here? Mr. Lindsay, you asked to table it. Have you looked at the wording of it?
Yeah, it says nothing about tabling it.
At the very bottom, it should. If you'll look
Yeah.
down at the bottom.
Yeah, at the very bottom it does say motion to table. I just saw that too.
I got you.
All
I'm
right.
with it if everybody is.
Okay.
That's fine.
So do you have a count for me?
No, I need Miss Hopkins and Mr. Howell. There's Mr. Howell. I need Miss Hopkins.
Ms. Hopkins, thumbs up or thumbs down? Is she frozen? Ms. Hopkins. Let me see if I can call her.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
No, Ms. Hopkins. I think we've lost her completely, it looks like. What is the vote right now?
Everybody is yes.
All right, then it passes. So we'll go on. We'll move on. Okay. So hopefully we will have that on the agenda for Saturday.
In order for me to close this, I have to have her vote. I can put yay and then double check with her. Is that legal, or should I just
Can you
show
put
it
her
as
as
just present?
Can you just show her as president, maybe abstaining?
Is that okay if I do abstain?
Yes, and we can fill it in later.
Okay, that's what I've done then.
All right. Next on the agenda is 8.1.5, the Kronos approval.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Ms. Parker made a motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Howell seconded the motion. Discussion? Seeing no hands, then let's vote.
Just a moment, please. It did not kick me in. Well, it said one or more. It said it would not take it.
Take what? It won't let us vote on that?
All right, it says, sorry, my whole phone blacked out. Okay, Miss Hopkins just said that her phone backed out. So I have got to go out and come back in to take this. It would not take when I put her in as abstaining.
Can we have a voice vote on this Kronos approval? I have, there's been no discussion one way or the other, so I feel like we could take a voice vote and then you could put it in later.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, then that motion passes. I don't see any other business before this other than the superintendent's evaluation. And as you remember, we have talked about it a couple of times. We've kind of pushed this forward. We so love doing evaluations, don't we? And the first evaluation, the one that has a score system is the way we've done it in the past. The second one is a Likert scale, which is a little bit different. So hopefully you all have reviewed it. We need to make a decision about it. So what is your thoughts? If there are no thoughts, I'll make a motion.
I thought my hand was up.
Or I see your hand. I see. Sorry.
Okay. My thoughts are, I still do not like either one of these personally. I would like another month to do this. I think I have a pretty good idea, but again, this is up to the superintendent to have some discussions and be able to push this forward. Again, if that's not possible, I understand, but I'm personally don't like either one of the two we have.
Well, we've got really till June we don't do an evaluation till then. So I would be okay with pushing it forward. What do you think, Mr. Hickman? Who's going to be looking for another? I mean, where are you, Mr. Moore? What are you thinking? I mean,
I tell you what, actually, if I could have some discussions with Mr. Hickman in the next few days, I think we can get something together that I would like to propose on that, and maybe get some other board members' input, possibly even have some ideas before the retreat. But I think we could have something for the next work session, and I can gladly talk to him in the morning about that.
All right, Mr. Hickman, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm certainly okay with it. I just want something that's fair and equitable. And
absolutely,
I know we don't want to. I don't want to wait too much further out, because obviously, if I'm going to be evaluated on a premise, I'd like to know what that premise is going to be.
Okay.
If I could address that, Betty,
yes.
I agree with you. I don't want to push it out any more than just 1 month. I think I have a pretty solid idea, but again, I can go over that with him, and I would like to give him. And part of the reason is I have never been happy with how evaluations have turned out in the 6 years I've been doing, 6+ years, I guess now. I don't feel like they have really represented where I feel the superintendent is, or that it really gives them a fair amount of feedback that I think they deserve to be able to make corrections. So if I could kind of put, like I said, I'd like to try to put something together here before the next work session, give him ample time to review as well, and I can reach out to him immediately, and we can get started on that.
Mr. Moore, would it be okay if we bring Ms. Parker in, because I know she's contacted me with some ideas as well?
Absolutely.
I hate to speak for you, but is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. I'd be happy to help out.
Well, I think that sounds great. I'm with Mr. Moore. I mean, having done these for the 4 years I've done them, I've never been happy with them. I think the results really don't help with the superintendent know what he needs to improve, and I just don't like the system that was in. And so I know that you two, having done it for now into your second term and third, or longer than anybody else other than Mr. Dudley that's been on the board. So I appreciate if you will speak with him about it and then bring it to us at the work session. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other business before this board?
Ms. Kinzer, I have one quick question to ask Mr. Hickman.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Hickman, I'm curious. I've been seeing our staff out and about doing the temperature check still diligently in rain, sleet, and snow, and in sub-freezing conditions, and a question as to why we're doing that. Why are we putting them in harsh conditions, potentially maybe putting them in danger of getting sick from flu or pneumonia, when there's absolutely zero evidence that temperature checks are effective against corona. I just want to know why we're still doing that. I don't see any reason in it.
And Mr. Howell, that's a great question, and I'm glad you brought it up. Just to make sure I'm clear with everybody, and we've said this before, the CDC has already came out and said that we do not have to do temperature checks anymore. However, our guidance comes from the adoption of the Tennessee Department of Health, which can and cannot accept those. and they still have not taken that off the list of things that they are asking us to do. You know, what I will do is I'll talk to Mr. Pointer tomorrow, because obviously if the weather is bad, we need to find a better place to do that than standing outside in the freezing cold and rain, and I agree. So we'll make sure if we have to continue to do it, let's do it in a way that's going to be expedient and not out in the weather. And I agree with you, temperature checks, and I can say from personal experience that I never got temperature day one, yet I had it. So I agree.
Thank you for looking in that. I do appreciate that.
Okay, seeing no other business, I'd like to say one thing. Last week was School Board Appreciation Week. It happened to be a week we weren't meeting, but I know all of you all felt appreciated by different schools that did things, sent you messages. I actually had somebody show up at my door with things, and I'm a little embarrassed about it because I don't really feel like that I should be appreciated. I think it's our staff and all of our staff who are doing an incredible job under unbelievable circumstances. So even though I want to thank everyone who appreciated us, please know that we just want to send it back to all of you. So with any other comments or anything, if not, I will adjourn this meeting. See you all Saturday, 9 o'clock sharp. Are we done?
Mr. Moore and Ms. Parker, would 9 o'clock tomorrow be good for a call? I think he bumped out. I'll email them both and let them know 9 o'clock.